Welcome to More Bang for Her Buck. This is a show about women and money, and it's all jargon free. A lot of times in the UAE, especially if you've moved here to be with your partner or you came here and then decided to get married, there are a whole lot of questions about divorce and alimony that leaves a lot of us women very confused. Sometimes we don't even want to broach the subject of divorce because we're so confused about the laws in the UAE. But I've got Chandini with us. She runs Malhotra Legal Consultancy and has a fantastic Instagram account called The Bifactology, which opens my eyes every day to some new law that I never knew about. So number one, do follow her and do follow us as well. More bang for her buck. But today we're going to get her to answer a whole lot of questions about marriage and divorce. If you know anyone in the UAE who is even remotely considering this or might need it in the future, please send this episode to them because I promise you it will be extremely useful. Hi, Chandini. Okay, I want to start with the first question that a lot of people actually sent us on our Instagram account, which is how do you decide where you want to file for divorce? Should it be here in the UAE or should it be in your home country? Most of our viewers are from India or Pakistan. So how does that work and how do you decide?
Okay. So I can rightly answer this question only if I know that the person is Muslim or non-Muslim.
Okay.
Because the laws would vary accordingly.
Right.
Yes. So first of all, you should have a basic idea about the laws of your home country. Because wherever you find it favorable, you would always prefer that. Wherever you have more rights, you would want to use that jurisdiction, that law. Coming to the UAE, if you are non-Muslim, then lately again in the year 2022 we have had a new law, a new personal status law, which gives you enough rights to file a divorce, and you can have divorce proceedings seamlessly, like you've never heard of. So I'll give you an example. For example, if you're a non-Muslim, you have two options by which you can actually file a divorce proceedings in the UAE. One is by mutual consent, wherein both the parties, they want to take divorce. They just go to the court, submit the petition. As a general rule, the court will send both the parties for conciliation because, the marriage should be protected. That's the idea behind it. But now, according to the new law, even that can be done away with. If both the parties are certain that they don't want to live with each other, they don't have to justify, they don't have to demonstrate the harm caused to the other person.
Great.
And then they just go for it. And trust me, on the very first hearing, you can get your divorce.
That's amazing. That is amazing. It's amazing only because I know a lot of women have to suffer a long duration of like 6 months and still having to cohabit or find another place to live, and that can be a really, really traumatic time. So that's fantastic news. So we got this story that came in. Actually, before that, under what circumstances should you be looking at, say India? In this case, right? Should you be looking at India to have a divorce proceeding? Under what circumstances would you choose India over the UAE?
Yes. So first of all, again, you have to understand. Okay. So since you know that in the UAE, both the parties agree for divorce, they can get the divorce just within a day. Now you have to ask yourself the question whether there's still some hope that you want to stay with your partner. Because if you compare it with the Indian provisions of mutual consent divorce, presuming that, say, you're a Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, whosoever, then there's section 13B of Hindu Marriage Act in India, which says that for mutual consent divorce, there has to be a mandatory 6 months cooling period, which means both the parties, they approach the court, they say that we don't want to live with each other. The court will have to give you 6 months time. And then you come back after 6 months, we call it second motion, and then they will give you divorce. Now, what is the rationale behind giving you that 6 months? So that, you may change your mind. Unless you go to the court, you have a different mindset. But when you go to the court, you start realizing that, your ties will be forever broken, etc., etc. So if you think that there is still some probability, maybe you want the other person to understand, take some time, go to India. Give that 6 months cooling off period that is, there in the law. But if you think that you're both ready, you've given already enough time, you're already staying apart for so many years, consider UAE.
Right. Is there any difference in the kind of alimony that you would get if you fought a case in the UAE versus if you fought a case in India? Is there any sort of law that defines which is a better deal, so to speak?
Yeah, so that is the second option. First option is that we talked about mutual consent. So here, what should be the alimony? It is all decided by both the parties because it's again mutual consent. So the court has got no say. Whether it's India, UAE or Pakistan, you as parties, as non-Muslims decide what you want to give to each other. Now, coming to the divorce which is filed by one party and other party does not want it, then the laws would differ. Now, coming to the UAE, according to the new law, you can file something called unilateral divorce. So it's like a divorce by unilateral will. One party does not want to live with the other. No matter what the reason is. The court does not want you to explain. Imagine. Again, what is the rationale behind it? Dubai, Abu Dhabi, they're very particular. They say that if you don't want to live with each other for your own, moral peace, for your mental peace, it's better you just part ways. In India, it's very different. In India, when one party they want to file divorce, they go to the court. You have to prove what is the reason. Section 13 of Indian law, in Hindu Marriage Act, it gives you more than 10 to 12 reasons. You have to go to the court. You prove adultery, cruelty, harassment, etc., etc. Only once you prove that you will get divorced. The difference is, in UAE, under the new law, they consider marriage to be kind of contractual in nature. But in India, it's more of sacramental in nature.
Right.
Now, coming to the alimony part, which one do you go for? One, if you know that you don't want to live with this person, you want divorce in one day, go to UAE. If you're ready to spend some time, you want other party to just suffer, you have to go to India over and again, you want the family to realize, go to India. That is one. Second, in the UAE, as per the law, you cannot file for alimony at the time of filing the divorce. Once you get the divorce, then you can file for alimony as a divorcee. Understand?
So that interim period, you have to figure on your own what the money situation is.
Absolutely. This is no provision back in India. In India, while your divorce proceeding is going on, you can claim maintenance. And when you get the divorce, everything is already settled. This is the compensation, this is the alimony, this is the maintenance, etc., etc. But in UAE, as a unilateral divorce, you first get the divorce, and then as a divorcee, you file for the maintenance or alimony.
Right.
So that's the difference.
Right.
Again, I want to mention something here. This new law is not automatically applicable on all the non-Muslims in the UAE. Whenever there's any personal matter related issue, like it's inheritance, child custody, marriage, divorce, the law gives you the first option is you should follow your home country's law or rule. And even the UAE courts, they are ready to entertain that Indian law in the UAE courts. You have that first option. It's only when you don't want that, then they say, okay, then this is our law that we have made for expats, for non-Muslims, this will be applicable. Now, how do you select which law you have to follow? For that, you should have some knowledge of your home country's law, which we are trying to give here, right? So the first thing is you have to ask yourself whether you want India's law to be applicable for marriage or divorce, or you want UAE's law to be applicable.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question came in again from a viewer. I'm planning to separate from my husband who has been cheating on me. I've given him all of my 15 years of earnings as he manages the investments, and all the investments are in his name. There are no properties, but it's all in the form of shares, mutual funds, and business investments. I don't have any full knowledge of the exact investments. I don't have anything other than my salary. How do I recover my share of the earnings?
Okay. I think you know the answer. See, anything that has been rightfully transferred to somebody with consent, you can't claim it back. Whether it's your husband, whether it's any third party, whether I want to give millions of dirhams to any beggar on the street, I cannot recover it. So anything that has already been transferred is transferred. You did it in good faith, you did it out of this beautiful relationship. That's something separate.
What's done's done.
Yeah. Now, because you're planning to take divorce, you're still safe. Understand, as long as you're able to furnish the documents before the court that the husband has so and so properties in his name, these are all the investments, your amount of alimony will be decided accordingly.
So I have a follow-up question
Yes.
to that, which is what happens if the husband has not disclosed all of the properties? You get a divorce, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, you realize that this guy was actually sitting on a lot more than he showed you.
Yeah.
Then what happens? Are you allowed to then go back to the court and say he was not fully honest?
This reminds me of so many clients I already have on board at the moment. So I have some clients. I'm not saying whether husband is justified or wife is.
Yeah.
So I want to just share this. I have this client again in Indian. So because his divorce proceedings are pending before the courts in Bombay High Court. So he was asking me how he can just do away with the property. So he said, can I? And I, as a lawyer, I told him that you can probably do a gift deed in favor of your mother or a cousin. And then after your divorce proceedings are over, you can take
Get
that
it back.
property back. So
Right.
this is a normal practice. Now, what you can do, the beautiful part is, again, under the UAE personal status law, which is applicable to non-Muslims also, this alimony amount is recalculated on an annual basis. So once your alimony or maintenance amount has been decided by the court, after 1 year, you can always approach the court and ask for the revaluation, provided, of course, you have documents to prove why. So if you can show it to the court that, see, now these are the new investments, new properties, new projects which we were not aware of, the court would be happy to reconsider.
That is Great information. Thank you so much. So the next question again is from a viewer of the show. She writes in saying that my husband and I have been married for 20 years. She gave up her career to take care of the kids. Our relationship has gotten more and more sour as time has gone by. He has all financial control. So now whenever we fight or disagree, he takes away the debit card or he takes away access to any spending cash. If I am to get a divorce, I have no money to pay for a lawyer. So or a place to go and stay in the interim. So how can I proceed? What would you advise her to do?
Okay. First of all, you can contact me. I'll be happy to guide you, whosoever you are. Second, in such a situation, more than money, you need that strong will to take the first step. As we've discussed so far, to file a divorce in the UAE, the first step is that you go to the court and the court will send you for a mediation or a conciliation proceeding. Till this stage, there is no lawyer required. So if both the parties are happy to divorce each other, you can just decide it. You don't need a lawyer. Second, your husband is not giving you divorce, for example, in such a case. Then your matter goes to the court. You clearly tell the court that you can't afford a lawyer. The second option, if you remember, I already told you that you also have the right to ask for unilateral divorce. It means on the very first hearing, you say that I don't want to stay with my husband. He's taken control of all the things in my life. You will get the divorce. The problem arises when you want some alimony from him and then it will not be given to you on the very first date. Because with the unilateral divorce, you get the divorce first and later on you claim for the alimony.
Right. So this unilateral divorce takes how much time? Like how much money does she need to have?
Nothing. It's just the basic court fee that you have to pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as you have enough for court fees and taxi or bus, metro to the court, is it as simple as that? Like, do you have to go to the court or have to take a lawyer to go to the court?
No, you can directly go to the court.
Okay.
Always. Even in a criminal case, if you cannot afford a lawyer, you can always tell the prosecution. The government is happy to give you a government lawyer.
Right. And as soon as the divorce comes through, then you can ask for alimony because I presume that, she's worried about the next week's meals.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. But I think she's been managing for past 20 years already. She'll be able to figure out a way. But to get a divorce is not really a big problem.
Right.
It's about how do you want to manage your life later on.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask one more question about dating in the UAE. If you're not legally bound in marriage, what laws sort of protect you, both in the form of any kind of harassment or any sort of sexual misconduct during a date or while you are dating, and secondly also if there's any exchange of money when you're dating? Is there anything that protects women who are dating?
There is no specific law for the women or men who are dating.
Yeah.
But of course, if you're giving money to somebody, which is very common, they start dating and out of love and affection, you give you whatever you have, you should have some proof of it. What will you say to the court? Why did you give your money? If you don't have any proof, if you've not taken a post-dated check, then you can't really claim anything. If you've done with consent, later on you can't deny that. Second, if it was without consent, then you can always recover. Third is that you should have some proof that the person promised to give you that back. If there was no contractual relationship, if you give something out of your love, will and whims and fancies, you can't recover it.
Okay.
Even if you're giving your money to your friends. I have so many clients who approach me in Dubai Factology stating that I gave 150,000 to my friend. He was giving me 1% per month. He was giving me some return. Now this guy has eloped. I asked them, did you take any post-dated check? Do you have any formal communication? You don't have. What do you expect? Do you think court is sitting there to entertain the cases where there's no evidence whatsoever?
True. Thank you so much, Chandini. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the Sharia law when it comes to wills and what happens if you're single, if you're divorced, if you're a dependent, if you're married, what happens when a woman passes away in the UAE. Yeah. I think that's a really important one. So we'll come back and talk about that. If you're listening to us on Spotify or watching us on YouTube, but you don't follow us on Instagram yet, then please do. All you've got to do is search for More Bang for Her Buck or Brown on the Outside and hit follow. All right, welcome back. Chandini has my eyes open wide. I feel like I've learned so much in the last 20-30 minutes of talking to you, Chandini. But this next section is about wills and what happens when a woman passes away in the UAE. We've had so many women write to us saying that my throat is dry, telling my friends to get a will done, and the importance of having a will if you're in the UAE. So I'm going to start with the first question that came in. What is the Sharia law on wills? What happens if I am a married woman and I pass away in the UAE? Does all my money just go to my husband or does it get distributed to different people in my life?
Okay. Very important topic. And in fact, I've done a podcast earlier also, but Unfortunately, not a lot of people got ignited and they did not really register the wills. So I
Okay.
hope this one will help.
Yeah, get a will, guys.
Yes, yes. So the first is, what is Sharia law? This question has to be separated from rest of the questions because
Okay.
Sharia law is specific to Muslims.
Okay.
Sharia will is basically, any will that you make as a Muslim, which is compliant with the principles enunciated in the Holy Quran.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you are Muslim married to non-Muslim,
Yeah.
Does the Sharia law still apply to you as a married woman? Like, for example, our producer, Sarah, is Muslim. She's married to Shelton, who's Christian. So does this still apply to her?
So the rule is that if the husband is a Muslim and the wife is a non-Muslim, then in that case, Sharia law will apply.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not the
Not otherwise.
other way
Not
around.
other way around.
Okay. So what happens if you're a married woman in the UAE and you pass away? Let's presume you're non-Muslim for now.
Okay. I'll also throw some more light on Sharia wills.
Sure.
So yeah, as a general rule, when you make a will as a Muslim, you don't really have. Let's understand few terms before we actually talk about it. When you make a will, the will is a document by which you want to give away your property or estate to somebody upon your death. That document is called a testament. You are making the will. You're the testator.
Right.
The people in whose favor you're making the will, who should get your property or estate after you, they are called the beneficiaries.
Right.
At times, to execute the will after your death, you might appoint some people as executors or trustees also. Okay. Now, in Sharia will, you don't really have to mention who will get your property, who will naturally get your property as per the principles of Quran. They're called your legal heirs. The people who would legally get your property anyways as per the Quran, you don't have to mention. Then what you have to mention? What is the will which is Sharia compliant? As per the rules, you can give 1/3 of your entire estate to somebody who is outside of the legal heirs zone.
Right.
So the person who is not naturally entitled to inherit your property, you can give that 1/3 away. So if you're trying to give more than that 1/3, then that will, on the face of it, is not Sharia compliant.
Right.
But there are a lot of people who still make wills and they try to give more than 1/3 of their estate to some third party. It can also become valid after your death, provided your legal heirs give consent to it.
Right. Okay.
So it can also become Sharia compliant.
Right.
Yes.
So what happens if you're married and you pass away in the UAE?
Okay. Again, whether you're Muslim or you're non-Muslim.
Right.
If you're Muslim and you pass away without a will, anyways, your legal heirs will naturally get the property. So that's no problem.
So legal heirs is your children.
Legal heirs would include your husband, your children, your parents.
Okay.
In the absence
Both
of
sons and daughters?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But the share is different.
Okay.
So naturally, your son will get double the share of your daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. So if a Muslim female, she passes away, presuming that she had this entire family, husband, children, parents. So husband will get 1/4 of the share. Both parents will get 1/6 of the share each. And your children, son and daughter, so rest of the share will go to the children, son getting double of what the daughter is entitled to.
Okay. And if you're non-Muslim, then what happens?
Okay, if you're non-Muslim, again, the same law, which we talked about for marriage, for divorce, the same personal status law comes into picture. First question will ask you whether you want your home country's laws to be applicable. Then accordingly, your property will go. So you should have a fair idea, If you're a non-Muslim in the UAE, you don't have a will, you should know that how the property goes after your death in your home country, because you're leaving it open, right? That's the first question. If you don't want to go ahead with it, then the UAE personal status law will be applicable. And if there is no will, it says the first half share will go to your husband, rest half will be divided equally amongst your children, son or daughter, 50-50. There is no discrimination whatsoever.
Right.
If you don't have children, then it'll go to your parents.
Right.
Like that. Again, why do you have to get into that? When you have the option of deciding whom you want your property to devolve upon after your death, you should take care of the situation at the first place.
Right.
Also, think of a situation wherein, you have a property for which you worked so hard. After that, what if you're not staying with your husband? Or he's also no more. You just have your minor children. Do you expect them to go to the court, get the certificate, and then apply for the property? You don't want that situation. It's better to get the will drafted beforehand. Just because DIFC charges you 10,000 dirham does not mean that you will not secure your property for which you've already paid maybe 2 million and got the golden visa. So, just for the ease of it, just so that your beneficiaries in future, they don't have to suffer. And also to avoid the complexity of Sharia law and the law which is applicable to non-Muslims in the UAE, because it's complicated even for me. For every client, I'll have to probably look into the law and then tell what is the share.
Right.
Get a will done.
Yeah, just make it simpler for yourself. I got a will done and I'm glad I did. What happens if you're a single woman What happens to your money then? Because I've heard some horror stories about like how, you know, your property will go off to some cousin who you haven't spoken to in the last 35 years and stuff like that. Is that true?
Again, you have to first see whether it's a Muslim or non-Muslim.
Right.
So if the person is Muslim, Sharia law will be applicable automatically.
Which means it goes to her?
See, the expert of Quran can only say, because again, it depends upon the interpretation. UAE has its own interpretation.
Right.
Your home country, Quran, will have its own interpretation. So that has to. So again, you know, you
and
should
if you're
avoid the
non-Muslim?
situation. If you're a non-Muslim and if you are in the UAE.
Yeah.
So first of all, the courts will see whether there was some debts, any loans in your name that will have to be set off. After that, if you're a single woman, no husband, no children, then the entire share goes to your parents. In the absence of the parents, it devolves upon your siblings.
Sibling, male or female?
Yes, equally.
Right. So, for example, I have only a sister.
Yeah.
So, if I didn't have a will and if I passed away, my property would go to my sister.
Yes.
Okay.
But again, presuming a situation wherein your beneficiary, your sister, does not stay in the UAE. Maybe she's not even aware of the property that you purchased.
Yeah.
Because you don't only include your properties in the will, you should also go for other assets like your bank account. I don't know if you've included that also.
Right.
So all these things are to be taken care of. What if your sister does not know that you have a bank account which has 250,000 dirhams or 1 million? So that will be absolutely ignored. The government is going to freeze it because there's nobody who's coming on board to claim it.
Right.
You understand?
So there is no document that says that when a person dies, they like all of their, like there's some UAE ID where everything that my name is on is declared to the family or something like that.
Think about
we
it.
expect that the family should know
Yeah.
everything that a woman owns, correct?
It's the other way around.
Right.
You should tell your family in advance. You should secure your assets well in advance.
Right.
And your family should know about it.
Right.
Yeah. And in most of the cases, the family members, they don't even come. Imagine my parents have never been to the UAE. Do you think they'll apply for the tourist visa? After my death, they'll come here and then go to the court, ask for what all do I own. Literally, my mom, she doesn't know how much do I have in my bank account. She doesn't know how many credit cards do I have.
Right.
So I, as a prudent person, I should have a will on board already, which talks about all my bank accounts, all the properties that I've got. And this is the first thing that I did when I bought my property here. So my will talks about my bank accounts, both in India and the UAE, my property here, and even the company that I have. So all the assets eventually will pass on to my mother. So you have to take the first step.
Yeah. What if you're a dependent on your husband and you're on his visa, but you have your own assets? The same laws apply? The visa has nothing to do with the way it's... Okay. So here's another question that came in. What happens to someone's liabilities like a credit card, a personal loan or a car loan in case of a death? And what are some of the documents that all people must have to protect themselves and the interests in the case of a calamity or a death in the UAE?
So the first document, of course, is the will.
Right.
Yeah.
Failing which?
Failing which you know. Failing which actually you don't know anything. That's the problem. Right. In the absence of the will, if you knew that ABC would happen, you would still not have a will.
Right.
In the absence of a will, you're uncertain about what might just happen because again, ultimately UAE is a Sharia law-driven country.
Right.
And there will always be difference in the interpretation, even if you're Muslim from a different country altogether. So the first thing is that you better have a will. Second, about the liabilities of the person, husband or wife, whoever passes away, the liabilities are always personal in nature. It would not automatically pass on to the spouse.
Right.
But what passes on is the burden of payment from the assets which the deceased, the person who's died, has left behind.
Right. So if you had a property worth say 2 million and you have credit card loans worth 500,000, when you pass away, the credit card loans will get paid off first and only what is left over will then be passed on to
all
whoever the legal heirs are.
Absolutely.
Great. So how does one go about getting a will in the UAE? Is it some long line and some painful process? And I hate forms. So
for that you can hire consultants like us anyways.
Right.
Yeah. So there are different platforms wherein you can get your wills registered. You have Dubai courts, you have Abu Dhabi courts, you have DIFC. It's crucial to understand the differences between the court system and the DIFC system.
Right.
Dubai courts and Abu Dhabi courts eventually are governed by the Sharia law.
Right.
Most people would choose Dubai courts or Abu Dhabi courts because comparatively it's cheaper. DIFC, on the other hand, is a common law jurisdiction. So the law applicable in DIFC is common law, which is applicable not only in the UAE but in a lot of other countries. That's more like advanced, progressive comparatively. So you can choose whichever you want. In DIFC, you have this option of including also the assets situated in other countries outside the UAE as
which
well.
is important.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's very simple. You just make the payment and everything can happen online. You don't even have to go to the court.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So it's just like, you're just a day away to protect your assets for which you've been working for almost a decade in the UAE.
Yeah, and why leave things to chance? I think,
You should
especially
never, you should
when
never.
I mean, you've got
Even if it's your
companies
car,
and homes
I can't think of many people who think about, putting about their car documents on the will. Most of my clients, I ask them, do you also own a car? Why are you not securing it? So you're only concerned about the real estate investment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Chandini. How can people get in touch with you and where do they find you?
So you can follow me on Dubai Factology, and on the bio section, you can find the link to my website. There's also the number, so you can write us an email, give us a call, and on Fridays, we try to give as many free consultation as possible.
Amazing. Malhotra Legal Consultancy is the name of the company. So just look it up. If you forget everything else, remember that name so you can Google it. Thank you so much for being on this show, Chandini.
My pleasure.
I'm sure we're going to do this again. If you've got any more questions, any comments, if you'd like to share this with somebody, please do. I know this is information that could literally change someone's life, and not just one life, but generations of life. So do this. Please, please share this with someone who could do with this information right now. The show is proudly produced by Brown on the Outside. More bang for her buck. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Thanks.
Yay!
This show is produced by Brown on the Outside. A thank you to our production team, The Dark Room, our producer, Sarah Anand, research and intern, Hiral Verma, and on hair and makeup, Neha.